Welcome back. Happy New Year's to those who celebrate New Year's and bringing the year in. This is the first show, ECCSC Live on CAN TV. Thank you all for tuning in. We're ready to get back to work. We're ready to bring the issues that's confronting us daily. We're ready to get back to work and produce great guests as well. So with that being said, Tio Hardiman is here today, people, and we want to talk about solution-driven issues that's affecting us in the communities. We want to get back to giving to the people. We want to get back to creating opportunities. We talk a lot about contracts and creating jobs. Okay. So, Tio, with that being said, if you'd like to introduce yourself to the people that don't know you, but I'm sure everybody know you.
No, we good. I appreciate being on the show with you, Tyrone Muhammad. Tio Hardiman, president of Violence Interrupters Incorporated and an adjunct professor in the field of criminology, criminal justice, and restorative justice. It's an honor to be on your show again, bro.
Thank you, bro. So look, Tio, we in this new year. Has been a number of shootings, even this year already. Right. And I just want your take on that. And it's like, do we get a break? What will produce this break? And what are some of the solutions you think? You've been working the violence prevention angle for a long time, de-escalation, tactic and technique. And some of the techniques that I've witnessed are similar to yours as a violent interrupter. Right. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that a lot of those techniques in preventing violence can be implemented and utilized more if the people only knew about that. And so with that being said, talk more about violence and interrupting violence.
No, what it comes down to, Brother Muhammad, is this here. Stopping any act of violence in Chicago, in black Chicago, in other words, it's all about personal relationships. Yeah. See, what happens, a lot of people with the programs, they package their program to make it look like they're doing something different. You can train people, and that's a good thing to train people on how to de-escalate conflicts, but what it really comes down to the nitty-gritty, knowing the individual and being able to talk that person down at that time in his or her life. That's what it comes down to. See, Black Death has become an extreme hustle here in Chicago and across the nation. Not just Chicago, Baltimore, St. Louis, Memphis, Mississippi, some of them states down through there. I mean, Baltimore is a city there in Maryland, but the thing about it is that it's become a hustle, so people make money off the bloodshed of African-American people in particular. Because over 85% of all homicides and shootings that occur in Chicago, they take place in black Chicago.
Right.
So make no mistakes. Right. And a lot of people raising money saying they're going to stop the killing. See, what I do, I don't have the big staff like I used to, but at the same time, we've done a lot. We've made a lot out of a little, and we collaborate with people. Some people don't want to mess with me because I'm straightforward and I'm outspoken, but that doesn't mean that I'm your enemy.
Right.
See, just because I don't agree doesn't mean I'm against you. What I'm saying is when you're raising millions and millions of dollars, give that money to the victims' families. Give that money to the shooting victims in Chicago instead of making $200,000 or $300,000 a year on your salary saying you stopping something. Give that money to the people that have been impacted by the violence directly. That's what I'm talking about.
So that's a great solution. That you're saying that those victims, instead of giving these organizations that's top-heavy administratively,
that's it.
Start putting the money back into the victim's family. Are you talking in the form of mental health? Are you talking in the form of therapy, rather? Are you talking in the form of, monetary damages?
No, I'm going deep, my brother. Let me go deep for you. But I'm saying to everybody watching, give that money, for example, Darion Alba's mother, Anjanette Alba. Her son was killed back in 2010.
Yeah.
My thing is, she's struggling right now. Give her the money. Give her $200,000-$300,000. Just give it to her. That's what I'm talking about. Give the money to the shooting victims out there that go to the hospitals all the time. And when somebody loses the life of their loved one, Give that money to them families because you're raising millions. Some organizations raising hundreds of millions of dollars. Give that money to them family members because them family members are grieving out here. The family members are really struggling, Tyrone. So I know this firsthand. I'm not speaking on what somebody told me.
It's interesting you say that because I want you don't lose that point. But it's interesting you say that because I've talked to Andrew Stroh, and we talked about the family members, the women. Attorney Andrew Stroh, and he talks about bringing these women together who have lost their sons through police shootings and murders. Now, do you see a similar situation, like bringing together those mothers?
See, bringing together the mothers is good, Tyrone. I'm only going on what God has given me and what I know personally. I work with a young lady named Royce. She's from out of Evanston. Her daughter was a model, an aspiring model. She was killed in Inglewood a few years ago. Shot in the head, okay? Her daughter. Her mother never recovered from that. And her mother just died. Royce just died last year of heartbreak. She never recovered. She couldn't even hardly stand up, my brother. We used to travel out of town to go to speak at conferences with her. She was a good lady, but she became a young lady around 42 years old. It was like she was disabled after her daughter was killed. She needed therapy. She needed some money. So people raise, a lot of the programs, what they do, they raise the millions of dollars off the shootings from the previous year. Or what they'll say is that there were 500 homicides last year. We need 20 million to reduce it in the next year. Why not give that money to them 500 victims' family members, Tyrone? That's what I'm talking about. Black death is a hustle. People need to really get this message clear as far as what I'm talking about. And I can back it up. I'm not just talking about this. I can back it up. The police had $67 million in overtime. I'm not against the police, but the overtime is not reducing the killings. There's no data to back it up, all right? So why work all the overtime and you're really not stopping the killings, bro? That's what I'm talking about. So on the solution side,
we talk about that devil advocate. Somebody say, why should we give the victim, money because their loved one got killed? What separate them? Why should they receive that when people die every day?
But you're raising money. Under the belief system, you're using the victims' numbers to raise the money. That's why you give them the money. Give them a portion of the money anyway, because you know all the time.
Or at least figure out, because there's a lot of breadwinners that are killed as a result of this violence. So at least figure out what that would cost in terms of
that's all I'm saying,
to get them families through. Because from what I've even seen community people raising money for victims of gun violence, when those organizations who you say are out there to prevent violence or to produce a form of de-escalation, I don't see them on the forefront of like paying the families.
Sometimes they pay for funerals.
I don't see that often.
Well, the thing is, sometimes they might pay for funerals, right? But the reality is that people are struggling out here. See, we're not at home with the people that lost their sons and daughters, where they can't even they cannot even get up in the morning. They're crying for an entire year. I'm talking about people like the trauma, the sideshow. It's a hustle, the trauma. People need a lot of help in Black Chicago. We've lost over 180,000 African American people have moved out of Chicago because of the gun violence, all right? And because of being overtaxed. So all I'm saying, now on a solution level, there's no other solution, people. We as a people have to become disciplined, Tyrone. There needs to be a disciplined Black Chicago. You cannot get around this. And what I mean by that, where you have a council of leaders that govern Black Chicago, real seriously. I'm not talking about no street stuff.
You're not talking about. I understand what you're saying, and you're not saying that the old so-called leadership that's been in play and this has been going on forever. We're saying that there's a particular order and there's a particular response that should happen in the streets. But if we as men sit back and watch our women and children become terrorized by violence, then in that case, man, it's like, who are we waiting on to stop it? It can't stop. It won't stop unless we are the ones getting out there creating a relationship.
That's what I'm talking about.
So these young brothers can come together and say, not just young brothers, because older brothers shoot.
Everybody's involved in it,
So that's great.
But you got to understand, I wasn't around at the time, but I do my research. In the 1950s, 70% plus fathers were in the household. And you didn't have the high levels of violence back then. The black community has been hit, man, with illegal drugs, the failed war on drugs. We've been hit with sexually transmitted diseases at all-time high. You got all kinds of experimental programs taking place in black Chicago. So what happens is, even with the police department, they choose Inglewood, West Side to train new officers, right? On where to go, how to become a better police. See, our communities are being used as experimental laboratories. Universities every year, they talking about spending $20 million on research to find out more about gun violence. The moral of the story, Tyrone, if we don't...
20 million. When you say 20 million?
Yes, sir.
So that goes to universities and professors and
it goes to top-heavy administration.
And psychologists.
Right. Study every year they come up with $20 million. Now Congress just passed.
I heard you say that before. You said something about 20 million. You don't have to pay 20 million to say what you say.
I forgot what I said.
No, you mentioned the shooting. You said I don't have to do no research. They shooting people.
No, you don't need to do research on finding. See, every year or every 2 years, they come up with a concocted scheme or strategy to raise $25 million to study gun violence. Now, this is the problem too. Congress just passed some policy, a measure to $100 million, I believe it was, to study gun violence as well. So all across the nation, all the universities are going to apply for the money to study gun violence.
You tell me. We out here every day.
Right.
And the number of collaborations that I see amongst people, and I can, if I should have had a list to just name all the ones that I've worked with or I know that's on the ground. Get no resources to do what they do for free.
Exactly.
And you said they spend $100 million.
Yes.
On studying why we getting shot.
Yeah, studying gun violence. Right.
And most researchers, we talking about contracts, jobs, opportunity, ownership. It's proven that when we control the wealth in our community, and people are working, you don't have to worry too much about putting money into studying violence because violence is reduced.
But see, this is what nobody wants to talk about. See, everybody's waiting on somebody else to be like the Messiah or the Savior in black Chicago or black America. The bottom line, once again, we need a disciplined black Chicago, which you got young people at the table, middle-aged people, older people at the table, females, and a lot of different type of, key stakeholders. Nothing moves in Chicago unless the council approves it.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about violence prevention, politically. We have 2 million registered African-American voters in Illinois. Yes, we can become the governors, we can become, all kinds of high-level positions without a doubt. But the point is, we have too many different belief systems that are not working in harmony with one another. And our disunity is really destroying us, Tyrone.
And on that note, we're talking about this new electorate that we should create. That we're working towards creating, meaning that with 30,000 or more, this is ex-cons for community and social change. That means that 30,000 brothers, sisters are being released from jails and prisons.
Every day.
Every
year, right.
30,000, bro. That voting block times 5, the 5 people they may bring with them. And I'm saying you're talking 2-3 million formerly incarcerated people in Illinois.
Ain't no question.
And then imagine the country, but just in that sense, just creating a new electorate to kind of galvanize and change the trajectory of this Republican Party. Because I don't think they take the people serious.
They're not going to take you serious because, Tyrone, everybody knows that there's a price that they can actually put out there, and most people give into it. And it's like what you call plantation politics, all right? Now, on the plantation, it was more hardcore because you got people subjected to slave conditions. But you always had 1 or 2 people in the plantation that the system would use to kind of cool out the, the brothers and sisters that are in so-called slavery.
But when you say this coming together for this table, that creates discipline, you're surely not talking about bringing them.
No, sir. You got to have some real solid brothers and sisters at the table that understand this is about the future. See, you have to understand a lot of our ancestors, Madison Watson, I put a picture up of Madison Watson, just a brother that took over a slave ship back in, back during the slave era. And he got down. I had like 20,000 people hit it on my LinkedIn page. And I'm not interviewing them, but the point is this here. People were not aware of this guy's contribution. That meant a lot because you had a brother that took over a slave ship say, I'm not no slave. Are you crazy? You know?
Right.
So the bottom line is this. We need people now that have free-spirited minds that understand our history here, number one. All the work I do is based on the backs of our ancestors. So they didn't have time to be separate back in the day. They unified in order to get us out of that condition, so to speak.
But this era of political correctness, Tio, it's like it's not popular to talk about issues
No, sir.
that affect us. Really, listen, bro, without saying black or brown. See, when blacks are suffering, we locked out of contracts and opportunities in the city. We just saw that recently. With the advent of the marijuana, what is it? What was it? 40, 17, 11 dispensaries?
Something like that. I don't know the exact number, to be honest with you.
At the end of the day,
No
man,
black dispensaries.
No black dispensaries.
We know that much in Chicago.
Then,
not one black dispensary.
So how do we handle that? Because listen, the prison industrial complex was built off the back of weed selling drugs, the war on drugs.
Without a doubt.
And we being probably the number one.
Incarcerating people.
They incarcerated people.
But we have a solution.
I'm talking reparation. How do they fix that besides just expunging?
Well, I have a solution for that. Brother Mark Carter, we talked about it before, and Paul McKinley and yourself. We're talking about giving young brothers peddler's license. The young brothers don't have no $250,000 to invest in no dispensary, so we're saying allow them to buy some peddler's license for $200. So we have 45% unemployment for African American youth in Chicago right now. 45% from 16 to 20, 30 years old. So give them some peddler's license, because they selling it anyway. Make it legit and legal for them so they can sell it in their neighborhoods. So then we can reduce unemployment, number one, and they're paying taxes, number two. So it's a win-win situation. But when you talk like this, people kind of get caught up. And like I say, people want to be politically correct.
But you leave out the millions of tax dollars that the peddlers would not produce. They wouldn't produce it because they don't have a structure by which, they would never agree to that, because on the front end, what was the tax revenue for the day? They made what, $3 million in one?
$3.5 million.
So what was the tax revenue for that? I wonder.
They got what, 25, 30% off of that money. So
man,
it's big
listen, bro.
Right.
30%. I heard Tracy talk
for each
about
item.
30%.
See, what Sister Tracy broke down to us, for each item you buy. Let's say you got 10 items at the cashier. You at the checkout lane, right? You got 10 items. They taxing each individual item. Okay, so it's just like paying for each item separately.
So see, that wouldn't even be a solution, a peddler's license.
Well, it'd be part of the solution.
That could be a short term, but they will only be allowed to sell so many grams, and that's going to be a problem. Just like it's going to be a problem locking these brothers up for selling. I mean, while you have these, we have gone from being illegal drug dealers to legal drug dealers in this city, and we control no dispensary.
Zero, Tyrone. And see, that falls on the laps of the politicians, though.
See, there they go.
See, people don't want to talk about that.
Throw my hands up. I ain't even have to see it.
It falls on the laps of the politicians, right. How could that happen in the year 2020? Seriously, with all these politicians talking about inclusion, unifying, making sure African Americans equity receive their fair share, whatever. How could this happen? That's the problem. Somebody had to go to sleep at the
How
wheel.
could it happen and they still be in office? See, we working on this. That's that electorate we have to build.
Got to get on.
We got to build this new voting block, man, and we have to control the politics. All politics is local, people. Remember that. All politics is local. Yeah. Everything else is an extension of a local ordinance. Because the locality they pretty much have to get the money from the city, then the city get it from the state. Exactly. To represent their need. Really, the state actually serves the local politics.
Always, Tyrone, but always understand this as well. Just like Black Death is a hustle, the black vote is a hustle. People need to understand this. We look at 79th Street from Damon, 79th and Damon to 79th and Exchange. We've been doing ride-arounds at night, exposing a lot of this type of information and showing people the conditions in our community. East St. Louis, even though we're in Chicago, East St. Louis looks like East St. Louis looked back 30 years ago, right? So look at 79th and Damon to 79th and Exchange.
And 1,000 whole Michigan.
115th in Michigan. Over 1,000 1,000 abandoned storefronts. But when these billionaires run for office, they put their signs up in front of the abandoned buildings. They never visit these communities for real.
After they're elected, they come back no more.
That's what I'm talking about. And no development. So that falls in the laps of the local politicians again, because you support a lot of these people, so to speak, but they don't give you nothing in return as far as a community. Like bringing the community up to par.
So would a solution be then to, in order, I know we need to probably create another party. But wouldn't the solution be in like immediacy? Because the Democratic Party, we have the biggest prison industrial complex under Democratic in Illinois under Democratic rule. Wouldn't it be then wise of us to then give Republicans a look if they will deal with our issues? And because I think Democrats have gotten complacent. They figure that the vote is theirs regardless to the work that they have to put in. And that's why I think the disrespect comes from. They don't even believe that we have a mind of our own to vote other than Democrat.
Well, see, the Democratic machine has been around since basically the electoral, electoral mindset of African-American people, because it's been pushed on our people. When I was 12, 13, all I knew was Democratic Party, right? That's what everybody talked about. So if you grow up around the Democratic machine, right. So that's what happens. So my thing is, with 2 million registered African-American voters in Illinois, imagine if 1 million African-American voters become their own party, so to speak. That does not mean we're against no nationality. It's just we're unifying our vote, and we serve as one of the biggest voting blocks in Illinois. So therefore, when billionaires run for office, they have to give the black party $1 billion. Imagine that. See, nobody wants to talk about it like this because people get mad at me because I'm outspoken. But the thing is, I'm pushing for facts out here. If you want the black vote, we need $1 billion so we can rebuild East St. Louis.
Right. Why should we be ashamed of that? Why should we be ashamed that we need economics to build our communities?
Exactly. And that's what they're throwing the money away anyway. The money is being thrown away. We just had a billionaire candidate running for governor. I just put it out there, and he spent $500,000 on donuts, Dunkin' Donuts. This is the truth.
Wait. We got violence, murder. We got school closing. We got all types of mental health issues that you can spend money on. You telling me someone actually spent $500,000 on donuts?
On Dunkin' Donuts, bro. I mean, real talk. You can look at their D2s. It's public information.
Dunkin' Donuts probably would have donated that.
Without a doubt. But
because they want to be tied into the candidate, man.
And the man spent $500,000 on Dunkin' Donuts. And then the previous billionaire, I was, going to the community trying to speak up for the people. So without
saying his name, this billionaire ran for governor.
Everybody knows
it. $500,000 on Dunkin' Donuts. That's cold.
Dunkin' Donuts. And then I was over on the south side, the previous governor, who was a billionaire. I was talking to some guys that were supporting him, and they were mad at me once again. Why you talking about the governor? I say, let me say this to you. They say he just purchased some fried chicken and barbecue and some watermelon for the block club party.
Wait. They had the nerve to say that.
Man,
that's the ignorance. I would have laughed myself away from that.
But I had to, because the brothers pulled up in the car, actually, and they were mad at me because I was speaking truth to power. They said, you can't come down on the man. He just purchased some barbecue for the block club party, and he purchased some watermelon. So what I'm saying, Tyrone, is the slave plantation mentality, and the beat goes on and on. They give us a little bit because we accept a little bit. See, we should be in a position of power. If you organize 1 million black voters in Illinois, that's a position of power.
No doubt. So, if you organize 10,000 black voters, listen, black voters in 10,000 black votes in Chicago would change a number of wards.
Yes, without a doubt.
Man, at the end of the day, I always say, Tio, that if we don't demand anything and unify to command it, then why would someone think that we should receive anything? Why do the people think we should receive anything who don't show up when we show out?
Well, they just know they can go behind everything we talking about and go find a community leader, a pastor, select pastors, not all of them. They go find them and talk to say, we need you to be the face for us. They do it all the time. Mm-hmm. So they have it down to a science, in other words.
I say to y'all today, you can no longer give us our leaders in our communities. Ex-cons for community and social change. we as formerly incarcerated men, Tio, have taken personal responsibility for our actions, behaviors, violations that we have done, disrespect, and all the things and the ills that we created, helped create in our neighborhoods, out of ignorance, mind you.
Right.
So if we can say that, then these individuals, whether they pastor, politicians, so-called black leaders, y'all got to take personal responsibility for the illnesses that you all have allowed to affect our community and effect our community. Listen, you have in some cases, you have 3 liquor stores in 1 square block.
All the time. We saw that the other night riding around.
Those stores cannot open, people, without the legislator's permission.
You got to get
Without
a
your
license,
local alderman permission, and I don't know if it's different now. Now they have to, with the whole shake-up of this automatic powers with through the mayor. So I don't know if they're able to do it now. I don't think so. They have to still go through a process through City Hall, I think, to get the license. That makes it even worse to me, in this sense. Now, it makes it good. It's more transparent. Then the aldermen are not allowed to now use their power, automatic powers, to incur favors now, to open up something that shouldn't be open.
Anyway.
So we need to vote these things, all these places dry. It's too many liquor stores that cause blight in our community. That's one solution I have for sure.
Well,
we have to,
like, for example, Tyrone, you might have about 15 abandoned storefronts on 1 block on the south or west side, but you have a liquor store that's open up to 2 or 3 o'clock. That's what I'm talking, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, right? Or the gas station. So that's a whole other conversation. But it makes no sense that we as African American people do not own and operate at least 99% of everything in our community. That's a problem in itself. And young people have to grow up in these conditions. Then you wonder why they don't want to listen sometimes to some of the elders, because what did you get? What legacy did you all put forth for us to kind of like attach to? Okay?
Right. Yeah.
That's very important.
And listen, community benefit is real important.
Right.
How can you have a store in your community and it gives nothing back but blight? It gives nothing back but crime, bro.
Yeah, they take duffel bags of money home to the suburbs. That's what's happening.
When we was growing up, T.O., man, we had a lot of Park District.
Yeah, Park District. A lot of
we was able to have after-school programs.
Right.
We even had summer jobs. Bro. Yeah. And we had something to do. Well, our children don't have as many things to do as we do.
It's rough for them.
So with that being said, T.O., you could tell the people how to contact you and find you, man, on your social media and other apparatus.
Well, now people can visit my website at violenceinterrupters.org or Tio Hardiman on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm all over the place. YouTube, Tio Mr. Ceasefire Hardiman, and I appreciate being on your show, Brother Tyrone.
Yes, sir. So with that being said, tune in next week. 7 o'clock, Monday, ECCSC Live. Thank you all for tuning in. Remember, it's going to take us to save us. Be the message you bring. Stop looking for everybody else. So thank you.